Everybody, it's Annette Green. Welcome back. I am here week 24 of 2024. Every week I do a craft video or a craft related video, and today we're making collage paper. And if you were here last week, we did these fun altered playing cards. So if you missed that, I will link that video below. I've been doing a lot of junk journal stuff lately, and specimen cards are one of them. A video on each one. I've done some clusters inside of my junk journal. I've done the hidden paper clips, different kinds of paper clips. So all those videos are on my channel. Just kind of check them out. So what is collage paper? Why do we need it? Why do we want to make our own? Why can't we just buy it? Okay, so you can buy it, of course. There are different companies that have it. These are two different ideology offerings. You know, already done, beautiful, printed, just, you know, tear it off the sheet, paste it down. But what if this isn't exactly the image that you want or the color that you want, or you don't want it to be plain like this? You can make your own, and that's the beauty of it. And you might ask, well, if I'm working in my junk journal or in a sketchbook, why can't I just do it right onto the page instead of doing it onto like tissue or collage paper? Because sometimes you want to just have a nice smooth surface where it is just disappearing into the paper. And if you have a book like this already made, or like my junk journal already made, it's a little bit tricky and risky, like you don't know how it will turn out right onto the page. So it's great to do it on tissue, because not only do you have the transparency of it, but you can tear this, you can layer this, you can do all kinds of things with it. You can stamp on here, you can, you know, the opportunities are endless when you have full control over what you're making and getting it into your book. You might be asking, like, why do we have to use this tissue-y collage paper kind of option? Why can't we just paper piece in things into our junk journals or onto our pages? Well, here's why I prefer the tissue, again, because it's very flat. So I can see this is paper. This is all collage paper on here. It's almost like cardstock thick paper. I can feel it. I can see all the edges. This sort of just disappears into your paper. So here's another example. These are fussy cut images out of paper that are glued right on here, and that's what it looks like. It looks like fussy cut stuff glued right to the page. So I like to avoid that and go with a more natural feel of something that sort of fades and blends into your paper. Now, it doesn't have to be a full page thingy. Like, you can grab some little tags or make your own tags, blank ones. I just have a pack of these from the antique store. I can collage right onto here with my different tissue papers. And so my goal with today's video is to make some collage papers for my junk journal. Now, many of my pages, if you have been following me for a while, they're very beautiful. I don't feel like I need to do too much to some of these, but then again, you'll come across some that are fairly blank that could use a little something. So we're going to play today. I'm going to show you some different surfaces to try and work on, and what has produced the most success for me. But by all means, you can certainly try yourself and see what you like the best. Let's talk surfaces. So I have used what I have discovered is my favorite thing, and that is this wet strength tissue. I get this from joggles.com. I did see some on Amazon called the same thing, even had the same image. It was twice as expensive on Amazon for less sheets than you can get on joggles.com. And this comes in a big, you know, folded sheet. I cut, I think, 4 from one sheet. So you can see how big the sheets are. There is a little bit of a fold because they have to get it in the packaging, but honestly, when you start printing, that goes away. You don't even bother with that. So I like to use that, and of course I'll link it below. But if you want to try things you have around the house, here's some ideas. Very similar. This is deli paper. It has sort of a slick side and more of a paper side to it. I have gotten these at my Sam's Club. They call it waxed paper, but it's really not waxed to me. So I did try that, and I'll show you how it looks. It's not my favorite, but it is something that a lot of people might have. They can try. Today we will also try vellum. I'm not hopeful because it's a little bit thick, but you know, if it's something that's all you have and you want to try it, for sure. This is from my local Office Depot, just vellum translucent paper. So we will try some of that, and then some tracing paper just from the craft store, Hobby Lobby. This is far thinner. I think this might be nice, but we'll see. Okay, one more we can try here, which I have tried one. I'll show it to you. By Creative Expressions. I believe I also got some of this on joggles.com. It comes in 10 sheets. It's already cut down to size. White rice paper. This does work nice, but there is that bit of texture, that, like, you know, the thready kind of rice paper stuff texture. I don't know how well that will tear and such, so we'll try that out too. So you might want to have some stencils on hand, or make some on your Cricut machine or whatever your cutting machine is if you like, because what I'm going to do is make some gel prints, and I want to use the stencils in the gel prints, and I also want to use some of the stencils to do a print on top of, to embellish some of the things I already printed. So I've just grabbed some random ones that are very kind of feminine and pretty that go with my junk journal. So I have those at the ready, and then I have some stamps over here. I've got like a dictionary stamp. This is an old stamp, Darcy's Heart and Home. It's a red rubber stamp, but it's like dictionary, and it's all about bees. I've got some larger stamps from Stampers Anonymous I think might be pretty, like some leaves here, some florals here, butterfly. Like I said, I am a big fan of the gel printing method. If you don't have this, we'll talk about what you can do instead, but it's really quite nice. And I have this nice big one now. I have a couple of small ones, but the 9x12 size is pretty darn nice for making prints. And if you don't even know what this is or what I'm talking about, it's this big giant rubbery silicone surface. It's like 1/4 of an inch thick. You put it on your table, you put paint all over it with a roller, and then you press your paper into it. But you can make designs and layers and all kinds of cool stuff. So that is one of my favorite ways to make collage paper. I'll show you a couple of examples of the kind of things that you can get just on your first layer. This is on that wet strength tissue that I showed you at the beginning, and if you look closely you can see there's a lot of different colors in here, but it's fairly soft, and they do match some of my pages in my junk journal. But you can see there's that kind of doily stencil. I just pressed it right into the plate when it had some paint on it to make that little pattern, and this is not finished. I will do more to it. This is like layer 1. Same thing here, had a little paint left over, and of those same colors. In fact, I probably did this print first and then this one second, because I do see the same doily, but it's a lot fainter here. This one I tried just with one color paint and some leaves. Definitely not done. This one has more of a periwinkle and a yellow going here. This is all the wet strength tissue. This was just pulling an extra print, probably from that leaf one. Yeah, same color. I just added some ivory colored paint to it, so definitely not done yet. This one is more purpley pink, and just went to town with some stamps that had script and flourish and all that stuff, so I definitely want to show you those later. But this one turned out really pretty. Like, this could almost be a finished one. Okay, so those were all wet strength tissue, and then this one is that rice paper, the white rice paper. You see all the little threads in here, and same kind of thing with the doily. Not done yet. I would definitely do stuff on top of it, but this is the one that I'm concerned about. If you tear pieces, is it going to tear properly with all those little fibers in there? So we'll see. This is the deli paper, and this is not, it's not great. I don't know what happened, but it was like shrinking on the plate, and so therefore I have all these wrinkles, which, you know, if you wanted that, that could work to your advantage, but I didn't seem to have a lot of control over that happening, so I didn't care for that. Not that this is not going to work, it's just, it's pretty, I don't know, it looks a little thick, it looks really opaque. I'm not sure if I love it. Okay, and then these were just a few little ones where I added some metallic paint. This one is really metallic-y. Some copper as I did some layering. This is just that wet strength tissue with some different textures on the jelly plate and stencils and such. And then this one has a little bit of silver added to it. Really pretty. These are small because I was playing around on my smaller gel plate thingy. But this is also the wet strength tissue, and what I did here is I didn't use the gel plate at all, just to kind of show you, you can do this with anything really. You could take your acrylic paints, because that's what I've used, and you could water them down and spread them on your paper. This is actually watercolor paint in 2 different colors, like pinks and reds, just to start a base. So that's usable with no gel plate at all. Let's just do a little quickie. Since I had this one out and it's really pretty, I looked for a page in my junk journal to see, do I have something that would allow me to use that, all that red? And opposing this nice little piece of vellum here, I definitely could. In fact, I could do it right onto the vellum, which you would see through. That would be interesting. Or I could just put it on this opposing page as a little accent across the top and the bottom maybe. That could be fun. You could cut out shapes, you could do whatever you want, but I think what I want to do here is I'm just going to tear and make a little border. And so to get it onto my page, you can use some matte medium. This is Dina Wakley gel medium. I also found that Mod Podge has this nice paper matte water-based glue sealer finish. I think I'll use that. And so just kind of pick that up and glue that on over here. And this is why I say the collage option is so nice in a book that's already done, because you can tear it, stick it, and the book's already done. You don't have to worry about like creating a whole page. You could just use it as accents. So that's cool. I'm going to let that dry and then trim that around. I just have a piece of paper here for that excess hanging off. And then I want to do a little bit on the bottom. So same paper. And I do like it. I can see through it a little bit. This is pretty dark colored, you know, with all the red and the green. But some of those really pale ones, they will really let that color show through. It'll be so nice. So I think that's kind of cool to see that when that page is closed up and then opened out. And of course, lots can happen on this page yet, but for now, that's good. Now, let's just, since I have it, let's take one of these shipping tags. And we will just put the Mod Podge right on the tag. Okay, pretty. And then I had this scrap of some really cute little rickrack ribbon. You could use a die of rickrack, of course. I do have a nice borders die set with Elizabeth Craft Designs. It has 2 different sized rickrack. But I like a little texture with actual fabric, so I just used a little Fabri-Tac there. So this is just a really quick example of using your collage paper that you made yourself, even on like a small tag, or you could put it on envelopes, anything you want to kind of highlight or see through maybe a little bit. In this case, we aren't seeing through to anything, but definitely on this page we do. So that's fun. But let's actually start from the beginning and do some gel printed collage paper of our own. Okay, got my big old gel plate here, and I know the ring light is putting a big circle there, so we're going to turn that off, and hopefully you can still see a little bit better with that. Okay, so we're going to start with my roller and some acrylic paints. And I have some extra paper here off to the side to roll off. And we're going to begin with some of that wet strength tissue. Okay, here we go. So I've got this light blue permanent, and I just use Liquitex acrylic paint. Got my roller. I'm just going to start rolling a little bit of this on. Just a very thin little coat. Very quickly, because it does want to dry quickly. And then I've got some unbleached titanium, which is also acrylic paint. I'm just going to put some blobs here and there and just kind of mix that in, but not completely blend it. You can kind of swirl it a little bit to get some texture. I like to do that. You could run things through this. You can use household items. But, you know, just to give it a little bit of movement rather than just solid paint. I'm doing that. Okay, you can see a little texture happening here. It's kind of fun. Okay, roll it off. You can grab your pretty stencil and just press it. Make a nice imprint. You can, I'm flipping it over because now there's a lot of paint on that side. And just for demo's sake, I'll do it a couple times on this one. And then we'll use some stamps. A little bit of a script stamp. This is Script from the Past from David with Elizabeth Craft Designs, the art journal guy. Now this script is so indistinct it won't matter that it's going to end up being backwards later on our print, but do keep that in mind if you're going to use like words or a dictionary or things like that. You want to use that in your stamping stage, not in your gel printing stage, because it'll read backwards. Simple as that. Okay, so I would stop there. I got my wet strength tissue. It does have a bit of a shiny side. I like to print on that side. I don't know if there's a big old difference. You can try both sides if you like. And I would just press that on there. And what I like to do is give that a second, because if we peel it up right now, it may not all come up nicely. You could check it. No, I can see that there's still some stuff on the plate, so I'm just going to let that sit. And the time that it takes me to maybe clean up my little tip of the bottle, and maybe if I want to wash my hands because I touched that painty stencil, or even go wash the stencil when I came back, or when I come back, that's when I would pull my print. Okay, washed my hands, washed my stencil. If you didn't want to keep going to the sink and washing your stencils, you could have a little tub of water off to the side and just throw them in there. Like if you were going to do a whole bunch of prints, that might be something worth doing. So let's take a look at this. And the wet strength tissue is just that. It's strong. It does not tear. It is leaving a little bit on the plate, which is lovely for a second print. That's called a ghost print. But this is so pretty. I hope that you can see all the detail, how very soft it is. It's just a lovely, lovely background. Almost has a greenish blue look to it, even though we use that unbleached titanium color, sort of an ivory paint, because it mixed with that blue. It's just so pretty. So I'll put that aside to dry, and we'll do something with this. I'm going to take a little bit darker blue. This is a primary blue. In these little bottles, I took all the paints that I had. These are brand new here, but I had a whole bunch of colors in the Liquitex, and I just got these bottles on Amazon to put them in because I do prefer using the little bottle as opposed to, you know, this kind of mess. And you know, you can't really touch the plate because the little cap thing wants to touch it. So those are on Amazon. I can link to those if you like. All right, so we have a little bit of that same blue and some of that darker blue, and we're putting it on the plate that has a little leftover pattern from our first print. And now I just need to decide, do I want to make a new print with this, or do I want to go back onto that same piece of wet strength tissue and do another layer? I think that's what I want to do. So now I'm going to grab the other stamp in that same stamp set from David, this big beautiful flourish. I think you saw this on one of the other prints that I showed you I did with the purple and the pink. And I'm going to press that into the plate. So it definitely lifts up paint that's there. And you see I'm wiping it off a little bit, not completely washing it or anything like that. Just because you'll get a better lift of paint if you don't have a lot of paint already on your stamp. And yes, you could ink this up and stamp it right onto your paper, but this just has such a unique look when you do kind of like a reverse print like this. Okay, we're going to grab that one we already did. And I know it's really faint and beautiful and light, and it's going to get really dark here, but I just want to show you what you can do here as an option. So again, I'm going to let that sit and really grab all that paint while I clean the paint off of this stamp real quick. Okay, I cleaned up a little bit. Let's see how we look here. Gorgeous. Ah, I love it. See, part of the pages in my junk journal do have a blue, kind of a teal tint to it. So, I mean, this is just gorgeous for a start. And you could stamp on here later. You can see the color that was there before showing through where I pulled the stamp away. There's lots of texture. It's just so yummy. I love it. Now we'll try something on the rice paper that I showed you. Do a little bit of pink over here. Maybe a little yellow, soft yellow over here. And then some more of that kind of off-white over here. And I don't really clean the brayer in between because it really does kind of dry as it sits. And I kept some of that blue on the plate. I don't care. Okay, so this won't be like one color flowing through the whole thing. This will be those three colors. A little bit of an air bubble under there. I can feel it when I'm rolling. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so this time we will take a pretty stencil like this one, and I don't want to get this bar in here, so I'm just going to kind of lay that and press it. I'm still going to get the bar. That's okay. I'm going to press that in. We won't worry about the bar. Okay, that's good. You can take some of that rice paper and actually push it on there. Get a little bit coming through. That's okay. Pretty. Do it again over here. Same thing. Okay, there is a little bit of a textured side on this back side, so I'm going to put more of the coated side down. You can see this paper is already cut to size and it's not bigger than the plate, so you don't want to, you know, get into that place when you're rubbing this down. You can put down a couple sheets of scrap to really push this if you want, so you get all that extra paint all over your hands. So we'll give that a second. Okay, this one is going to be interesting because it's picking up a little bit of that blue that was left, which is cool. Again, I don't know how the rice paper is going to do when we want to collage it, but this print is a nice base print. You can see those different designs in there just subtly. We can do things to it. So that's an example of the rice paper. Try some vellum just so you can see a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, a little darker green, and this brighter green, light olive. Does it matter how you put it on the plate? Absolutely not. Clearly, but I'm going to make some streaks this time. I'm not going to swirl it together. So So we're going to leave it kind of like that. That's kind of earthy because I am going to use some leaves this time, some of these stamps over here. So I'm just going to grab them all. Actually, this is what I did before. I didn't even take these off of the carrier sheet. I just pressed it right into the paint on the jelly plate. Because why not? To get a, whoop, I don't know what I did there. I must have touched that with the edge. That's okay. You don't need to use every single part of your prints. You pick and choose on your collage paper what you're going to use. So let's do that a little gentler. Okay, so yeah, we have this big old check mark here. Let's just put another leaf there. See if we can camouflage that. So I'll press this all around and then we'll try out the vellum. Okay. Vellum is so thick. Just to see. Okay, I clean my hands, I clean my stamps. Let this sit for a bit. I mean, it's pretty cool looking. I just don't know how well it will work in collaged onto paper. We'll see. We'll see a little bit later when we try it. Oh, that's kind of cool. I do see through it. You see my hand through there? So that could be fun to play with. I'll set that aside to dry. Next we will try tracing paper. Ooh, see, that's a lot. I can't control it. It's just a lot. That's why I like my little bottles. And I'm getting a bottle drying rack from Amazon today to store all my bottles upside down. So I don't have to keep shaking them to get the paint to flow down the bottle when I turn it over. Okay, so I just did the one color, but now I'm going to add a little bit of this bright aqua. That first was that blue color. A little bit of aqua, just for variation. And then maybe go back to that unbleached titanium, just for a little texture and lightening up. Okay. And what are we going to do on this? Maybe just some texture. I'll show you what I've got. Okay, that's cool. I use this all the time. It's like, I guess, rug hooking material. I got it at my local recraft center, and it was just in a bin for cheap, these pieces. So what it does is it makes a nice sort of a burlap texture imprint into the paint, which gives you a really excellent background. And again, we're going to do this onto tracing paper. See how that looks. Tracing paper is the same. Mine is the same on both sides. There's not a shiny side or a matte side. So I'm just going to press that on there and give it a minute. I don't know, I think tracing paper might be nice too. I just don't know how. See how it does this? This is what the deli paper did. Do you see all the wrinkling it's like sucking it? I don't know why that's happening with this, and it doesn't happen with the wet strength tissue. But man, you know, it could be interesting, but I don't like that I can't control that. So that's just something to know. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's pretty cool. I don't know what the wrinkles will do. It just kind of bothers me a little bit, but I do like the texture and the burlappy look that it puts onto the background. All right, so that was tracing paper, and I'm not going to do deli paper because it's just like this. It does the same thing with the wrinkles, same kind of deal. Went to lay the tracing paper one over there to dry. I noticed that the vellum one curled right on up like that. But it's dry. I just need to remember that is something you have to worry about with that vellum. Okay, I think we can put the ring light back on. We're going to start to embellish some of these prints that I made before. Let's start with this one, perhaps. And I've got some stamps, and I've got some stencils, and I think I want to do a little bit of leaves with some flowers. So I grabbed both of those. Okay, now some inks. For mine, I'm just going to stick with VersaFine Clair inks. These are permanent inks, like archival, and I have a whole bunch of colors. I have some new colors over here, so I'm just going to play with those. Water-based I probably would not recommend, because a lot of times when you're working with this and you're adhering it down, you want to top coat it with some of that Mod Podge or gel medium, and that is going to spread anything that's water-based. So just keep that in mind. And just for fun, I'm going to try 2 different shades of blue here, Bally Blue and Warm Breeze. And yeah, leaves are not those colors, but do we care? Absolutely not. So I'm gonna start with the Bally Breeze, and I'm not even gonna put this stamp on a block. I've got a little scrap sheet of paper under here for over stamping, and I'm just going to randomly stamp very, very lightly. I love how that looks. Let's see how Warm Breeze looks with this, maybe a different stamp. Let's grab this guy. A little bit darker. It's probably better to do it this way. There we go. Okay. And stamp that. That is beautiful. Look at that. And this one's beautiful too. It's just very, very pale. So I have to decide, maybe do I want to try 2 different, maybe a green. I wonder if this avocado, I don't know. I think grass green. Let's see how that looks. Since we're working with leaves, let's try it. Go in this open place right here. Okay. Pretty, very subtle. That's a good thing. And so I just used that Valley Blue, which is the lightest blue, and I put it in that really white area, and that worked very nicely there. That was the same thing over there, but I was competing with what I had already in the way of paint. So maybe go for those whiter places with that lighter blue. Still pretty, but just keep it in mind. And then we'll go back to this other leaf and this darker blue. Okay, I think this is looking really pretty. I hope you can see all that. But I did grab this avocado color, and I'm just going to use the very tip of this floral kind of greenery stamp here and just kind of fill in some of those open white places a little bit. This great big stencil, and I realized I had not even opened it out of the packaging. You could use paint to do this, but I'm just going to use ink. I like these flourishes. I'm just going to do a little filler of flourish. So I am going to tape off the words so I don't get any ink on there. Just used a little bit of mint tape, which is a very low tack craft tape. And I'm going to, and I just taped where it was close to the swirls. You know, that's all I'm worried about. Let's go with something a little deeper. Okay, so that's one very fun piece of collage paper. And this is the rice paper, just to remind you. So let's do another one. All right, this is one of the wet strength tissue bases that we made. I've grabbed this stencil. This is from Elizabeth Craft Designs as well. And I have 2 different yellows going over here with my inks. This is Golden Meadow. It's a little bit greenish gold, so that might be better. So this is a little darker. I don't want it to be super dark because I don't, you know, is supposed to be a subtle background treatment, not a hard print. I mean, that's not what I want. You could certainly make this very dark and bold if you wanted to. So let's see, does that hold up? Better. Very nice. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to continue with that one and maybe use a few different stencils, and I'll be back. Okay, looks great with the yellow. Now I have some butterfly stamps. Okay, I'm going to use a block this time. I think it'll make it go a little bit faster. I'm going to use all the same color. Okay, I think that turned out really pretty. So much detail. The butterflies, I ended up doing 4. They need a little time to dry. It's a little bit shiny, so I'm going to put that aside. I may go back in with a stencil and do a little bit more in between. We'll see. Okay, here's one of the prints that we made together. You watched me make, and I think I want to take that script stamp from David and a nice dark blue, this twilight color, and kind of touch that in places. And now, because we're stamping, we don't have to worry that it's going to be backwards. It's going to read the right way, even though you can't read any of this at all. It's a very indescript script. So I'm just going to kind of touch it in places randomly like that and not press the whole thing down, and just move around my paper. I think this is really pretty. And I'm getting super inky. That's okay. I am trying to keep it a little bit straight. You know, you don't want to turn your text or go on an angle too much for this one. Okay, I think that's really pretty. Ooh. While I'm at it, I think I will grab this little stencil. It has a bee on it, but I don't know. The bee is a little bit big. I just think I want to catch some of those leaves. And I do realize this text is still a little wet, so I'm going to be kind of careful. And I'm not going to really pounce this super dark, but just subtly. And hopefully that shows up. Let's take a peek. We could go a little harder, I think. Absolute favorite one so far. Love it. That is gorgeous. I think I would stop with that, just like that. All right, put that to dry. Now we have the vellum, which I just don't think I want to mess with it. I don't think it's going to work well. It's so thick, it almost looks like it could crack with the paint in there. So I'm not going to play with that one. I am going to use the one we did on tissue paper though, and we'll do a little something to this. So let's add some pattern to this with this stencil, another Elizabeth Craft Design stencil. And I think I'm going to try like Green Oasis. Kind of a nice green, a little bit darker than our grass green. I really like this one because the pattern is small, and that's great for smaller projects and tags and things like that. So I'm just going to turn the stencil a different way and fill this whole thing out. You know, as I'm doing all this, I'm just thinking how much I love this project because I am using so many things that I haven't used in so long. Stencils I didn't even open out of the package. Some paints that I had not even tried yet. Tracing paper I've been hoarding. Vellum. So in a way, even though it's not junk, it's stuff you already have that you can use up. I'm loving this. All right, real quick, let's do something on this. This is watercolor, which I hope that holds up okay with the matte medium when I go to glue it. We will do a little test real quick. I will just squeeze some on here and take a brush to it and see, does that lift up the watercolor? Test that out. I'm not getting any pink transferred over, so I think we're good. All right, let's proceed then. Okay, just for fun, I'm going to use this tulip red through this very open stencil. So it's going to lay down a lot of red, and then where the outline of these roses in the stencil will remain the pink color on the tissue. Okay, that turned out better than I thought it was going to. That's lovely. You could do more to that. I'm tempted to want to use this this B definition stamp set, but I just don't want to ruin that. I really think that's nice, so I think I'll use that stamp on some other sample. Okay, let's just do one more. I'm having so much fun, it's hard to stop. But I want to use that B stamp, and I've already got this one looking really nice. This is one that I did before the video started. I did it yesterday. I do want to stay with the colors I'm using. Maybe the Monarch. So let's see. Not going to put it on a block. Just going to do a little random. Okay, here we go. Random. I'll try this corner. Maybe it'll be less random and more purposeful, and then I'll cut out sections. You just don't know. You don't know. I could have used a big ruler to press this down if I could find it. Here it is. We could use this as like a big stamp block. I used to have big ones, but I don't think I have them anymore. Ooh. Okay. Well, now that I've done it and it's all like square, I think I need to stick with that. But I do want some that's just like this. So I'm not going to do it all over the page. I'll just do one more little section here. I think I will use my Love and Roses stamp set. Do a couple of bees and a couple of flourishes, but still leave some of this without any stamping because I just like it as a really subtle background. And I grab David's stamp here from that set we were using earlier. It's got a couple of really kind of smaller flourishes that are nice for just kind of filling in here and there. So we'll do that. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to do, and then leave this just like this. Okay, now I'm going to take a moment to put these to work in my junk journal, and I'll come back and show you what I did. As I'm going through, I pick like which collage paper I want to use and then try to match it with something. This has a little bit of blue in it, so this is going to go on this page, and I'll give it a little tear and get it in there. So let me go through and do that, and I'll be back and show you how it's finished out. Okay, well that was a lot of fun. Let's flip through and see what I did. Let's see if I can find them without wasting too much time. I used quite a few. So there is the page with the top and the bottom that we saw already. There's my pretty tag. That may or may not go on that page, but that has been collaged. I added the purple one here because it ties in beautifully with this opposing page. Here I did some collaging of that butterfly paper and added a different paper with the one that had this nice background, top and bottom, just for fun on this page. Here I added that pretty paper, the collage paper that opposes this page. Very nice. Added some here. Just think that's one of my favorites, honestly, because it's just so subtle, but it adds some color to that page. It kind of ties in with this one. There's so much more that can happen on this page still. It's not too busy. It's very nice. And then on this side was that piece of paper that we did, and I just randomly tore this one. No big plan to it to get it on there. Here I actually die cut that one pink piece of paper that we collaged. Used my butterfly die. Oh, no, there's some of that blue because there's some blue in the lines here. Just really pretty. I love that. But yeah, I think I want to work more of that one pink one into my journal because it was one of my favorites too. Okay, so you can see I just kind of tore, and I have a lot of scraps left over. I can use, see, there it is. I can use a lot of this still. So much more to be used. This one here had all that still. This is still a nice big piece. Lots to do here. And with this one, and then the other ones that I showed you that are back there on the floor and on my table behind me. Okay, well, that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video of making your own collage paper. I might play a little bit more after I turn off the camera. I hope to see you next week in the next crafty video. Thank you so much for watching.